Commander Lee Hanna walked slowly through the massive doors of the Galactic Council chamber. Her black military uniform was perfect, with every button and badge in exactly the right place. Behind her, Captain Kim Tae walked carrying a metal case that held examples of Earth's weapons. The room was bigger than any building Hanna had ever seen on Earth. The ceiling stretched so high that clouds could form up there. Around the circular chamber sat the most powerful beings in the galaxy. The Zeltharians looked like giant walking crystals that sparkled with rainbow colors. The Luminar were made of pure energy, flickering like lightning trapped in bottles. The Kethmer had metal bodies with glowing circuits running under their skin like electronic veins. Hanna had practiced this moment for months. Earth needed help. The Vorthok Empire was already attacking human colonies on the outer edges of space. Ships full of refugees arrived at Earth, every day with stories of plasma cannons that could melt mountains and energy shields that could stop anything. Honored counselors, Hanna began, her voice echoing in the vast chamber. She pressed a button on her wrist computer, and blue light formed a table in the air between her and the aliens. I am Commander Lee Hanna, representing the human race. We come asking to join the Galactic Council. Counselor Veltharin was the biggest Zeltharian, his crystal body as tall as a building. Light passed through him and came out as beautiful colors that danced on the walls. When he spoke, his voice sounded like music made from tiny bells. Why should we accept such a young species into our council? Because we can fight, Hanna replied. She nodded to Captain Kim, who opened the metal case. The holographic display showed Earth's military power. Nuclear missiles that could destroy cities, railguns that fired metal bars faster than lightning, kinetic bombs that hit like asteroids, chemical explosives that could level buildings. The reaction was not what Hanna had expected. The Zeltharians started making a sound like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. The Luminar flickered rapidly, their light changing from blue to green to yellow. Even the Sirius Kethmer made small electronic beeping sounds. Hanna realized with growing embarrassment that they were laughing at her. "These are your weapons?" asked Luminara, a Luminar whose energy form pulsed with what looked like amusement. Metal objects thrown through space by chemical reactions. Captain Kim stepped forward, his face red with anger. "These weapons have protected Earth for over 200 years. Our nuclear arsenal could destroy continents." Counselor Veltharin as crystal body shifted to a bright yellow color, which Hanna's translator said meant he found something very funny. "Young human, our defensive screens can absorb the power of entire stars. Your largest explosive device would barely scratch our ship hulls." Tekron, the Kethmer representative, connected directly to the human data through cables that came out of his metal fingers. His glowing eyes flickered as he read the information in seconds. Primitive kinetic energy systems, chemical propellant technology, nuclear fusion reactions contained in metal shells. These weapons are thousands of years behind current galactic standards. Hanna felt her heart sink. She had known that Earth's technology was less advanced than what these aliens possessed, but she had not expected to be treated like a child showing off stone tools to scientists. "Our enemies use plasma that can cut through any metal," explained Luminara, her voice kind but condescending. "They have energy shields that bend space itself to deflect attacks. They control gravity and time. What could your simple projectiles possibly do against such power?" "We adapt," Hanna said firmly. "Humans have always found ways to win against stronger enemies. Courage without proper tools is just suicide," Counselor Veltharin declared. His crystal form turned deep red, which meant the conversation was over. "We cannot waste council resources protecting a species that cannot protect itself. Return to your world, humans. When you develop real weapons, we may reconsider." The other council members were already turning away, treating the humans like visitors who had overstayed their welcome. Hanna felt Captain Kim tense beside her, his hand moving toward his sidearm. She quickly grabbed his wrist and shook her head slightly. "We understand your position, counselors," Hannah said with as much dignity as she could manage. "Thank you for your time." As they walked back through the massive doors, Captain Kim whispered angrily, "They think we're cavemen playing with sticks and stones." "Maybe that's good," Hannah replied quietly. "Let them think that." "What do you mean?" Hannah looked back at the council chamber, where the alien representatives were already discussing other matters, having completely forgotten about the humans. Every species in this galaxy has the same advanced weapons, the same energy shields, the same tactics. They've all learned to fight the same way. Captain Kim frowned. "And that's good how?" "Because we haven't," Hannah said with a slight smile. "We fight like humans, and I don't think they're ready for that." 3 months later, when the first Vorthok fleet entered human space, the galaxy would discover exactly what she meant. Admiral Park Sung-ho stood on the bridge of his warship, watching the enemy fleet appear on his screens like deadly stars. 17 Vorthok battle groups had just jumped out of hyperspace at the edge of human territory. Each ship was twice the size of anything Earth had ever built, covered in weapons that glowed with dangerous energy. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the lead Vorthok vessel," reported Lieutenant Choi Minna from her communication station. "Put it on screen," Admiral Park ordered. The face that appeared was nightmare fuel. The Vorthok commander had reptilian, skin covered in scars, eyes like burning coals, and teeth that could tear through steel. When he spoke, his voice was like gravel being crushed. "Pathetic humans," the alien snarled. "I am Commander Korthok of the Vorthok Empire. Your weapons are toys. Your ships are made of paper. Surrender now, and we will kill you quickly. Resist, and we will make your deaths last for days." "Admiral." Park studied the enemy formation through his tactical display. The Vorthok ships moved in perfect lines, their hulls shimmering with energy shields that could stop anything the galaxy had ever thrown at them. These were the same barriers that had protected Vorthok fleets as they conquered 12 star systems in the past 5 years. "Send this reply," Park told his communications officer. "Commander Korthak, humanity declines your generous offer. Come and take our worlds if you can." The alien's face twisted with rage before the transmission ended. "All ships, begin protocol." 7, Admiral Park announced to his fleet. Around him, his bridge crew looked worried. Protocol 7 meant something no human military had ever tried before. Captain Yoon Jae-sung, commanding the destroyer Soul's Pride, received the orders with growing excitement. "All civilian ships, evacuate immediately. All military units, prepare for unconventional engagement." The first battle happened at New Busan Colony. 3 human frigates tried to stop the Vorthok advance, using traditional space combat tactics. The results were exactly what everyone expected. Vorthok plasma cannons cut through human armor like scissors through paper. Energy beams that could melt asteroids turned to human ships into glowing slag in less than 10 minutes. Commander Korthok watched the easy victory with satisfaction. "These humans are even weaker than reported. Begin orbital bombardment of their colony." But when the Vorthok ships moved to destroy New Busan, they found something strange. The colony was completely empty. No people, no active machinery, no energy. Signatures that their advanced sensors could detect. "Where did they go?" demanded Korthak's tactical officer. "Underground, sir. Deep underground in bunkers our sensors cannot penetrate." Korthak snarled with frustration. "Then we dig them out. Establish orbital control and begin setting up our forward base. We will bombard this world until nothing remains but dust." This was exactly what Admiral Park had been counting on, as the Vorthok fleet settled into orbit around New Busan, unloading construction equipment and troop transports. They failed to notice small objects drifting in the nearby asteroid field. These objects had been floating there for 3 months, ever since the Galactic Council had rejected humanity's request for membership. They were dark, cold, and nearly impossible to detect. They were also traveling at incredible speed. The Vorthok ships. The first kinetic kill vehicle hit the Vorthok flagship at 30% of light speed. It was just a tungsten rod, no bigger than a telephone pole, with no explosives or energy weapons attached. But at that velocity, it carried more destructive power than a nuclear bomb. The Vorthok energy shields flared brilliantly as they tried to absorb the impact. For a moment, it looked like the alien defenses would hold. The shields had been designed by the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy. They could stop plasma cannons, energy beams, and exotic particle weapons. They had never been designed to stop a simple metal bar traveling at relativistic speeds. The tungsten rod punched through the energy barrier like it was not even there. It passed completely through the Vorthok flagship, leaving a perfectly round hole from bow to stern. The massive alien ship shuddered, its hull cracking as atmosphere rushed out through the breach. "Impossible," Commander Korthak screamed, as his bridge filled with emergency alarms. "Our shields can stop anything." "Sir," his weapons officer reported with panic in his voice, "we're detecting 17 more projectiles incoming. No energy signatures, no guidance systems. They're just pieces of metal, but they're moving at incredible speed." More tungsten rods slammed into the Vorthok fleet. Ships that had conquered worlds across the galaxy were torn apart by weapons that would have been familiar to humans from centuries ago. The Vorthok crews, trained to fight against energy weapons and exotic technologies, had no idea how to defend against simple, kinetic projectiles. "Return fire," Korthak ordered. "Destroy these human ships." But there were no human ships to shoot at. The kinetic weapons had been fired from platforms hidden in the asteroid field, automated systems that had been waiting patiently for months. By the time the Vorthok located them, the platforms had already launched their payloads and gone dark. In less than an hour, 8 Vorthok warships were destroyed or crippled. The survivors retreated to the edge of the system, their crews shaken and confused. For the first time in centuries, a Vorthok fleet had been defeated, and they had lost 2 weapons, their enemies dismissed as primitive commander. Korthak stared at the tactical display, showing his damaged ships. His reptilian face was pale with shock and growing fear. These humans fought like nothing the galaxy had ever seen before. The war was just beginning. Major Song Haijin floated in her armored spacesuit, watching the Vorthok battlecruiser through her helmet display. The alien ship was massive, its hull covered in weapons that glowed with deadly energy. But she was not afraid. She had a plan that no alien military had ever seen before. "Breach pod Alpha ready for launch," she reported into her radio. Around her, 29 other human marines were packed into what looked like an oversized bullet made of steel and ceramic armor. "You sure about this, Major?" asked Sergeant Lee Donghyuk, checking his assault rifle for the 3rd time. "We're going to shoot ourselves at that ship like a cannonball." "That's exactly what we're doing," Song replied with a grin that her teammates could hear in her voice. They've never seen boarding tactics like this. The breach pod launched from the human destroyer with the force of a railgun. Inside, the Marines felt like they were being crushed by an invisible giant, but their training held. In 30 seconds, they would either be inside the enemy ship or dead in space. The pod slammed into the Vorthok hull with tremendous force, its pointed nose punching through alien metal like a nail through wood. Emergency systems sealed the hole. Behind them, as the Marines poured out into the enemy ship, what they found surprised them. The Vorthok corridors were huge, designed for aliens who stood 8 feet tall and had reptilian features. The walls were covered in glowing panels that showed alien writing, but most importantly, the enemy crew was completely unprepared for visitors. "Contact front," Sergeant Lee shouted as 3 Vorthok soldiers rounded the corner. The aliens carried elegant weapons that hummed with energy, devices that could fire plasma bolts, capable of melting through starship armor. The firefight lasted 15 seconds. Human assault rifles fired 600 rounds per minute. their bullets powered by simple chemical explosives that had been used on Earth for centuries, while the Vorthok were still aiming their powerful but slow-charging plasma weapons. The Marines had already emptied entire magazines into them. "How do your weapons fire so fast?" gasped the wounded Vorthok officer, his reptilian eyes wide with shock. "Where is the energy source? Where are the power cells?" "Gunpowder," Major Song replied simply, stepping over the alien's body. "Same stuff humans have been using to kill each other for 800 years. The Vorthok had never encountered chemical propellant weapons. Their entire military doctrine was based on energy warfare, with weapons that required charging time, power sources, and sophisticated targeting systems. Human guns were mechanical devices that worked by controlled explosions, requiring no energy source beyond the ammunition itself. As Song's Marines advanced through the ship, they encountered more alien crew members who simply could not adapt to the rapid-fire weapons. Vorthok plasma rifles were designed for ship-to-ship combat, powerful enough to damage starship hulls but too slow for close-quarters fighting. "Breach pod beta successful," reported Captain Yun Day 1 over the radio. His fighter squadron was conducting their own type of unconventional warfare outside the alien ship. The Vorthok point defense systems were trying to shoot down the human fighters, but their energy weapons kept missing. The alien targeting computers were designed to track ships that moved in predictable patterns, following the standard flight paths used by all galactic militaries. Human pilots did not fly in standard patterns. They rolled, dived, and twisted through space like atmospheric fighters avoiding ground fire. Captain Yon's squadron approached the enemy battlecruiser in a corkscrew pattern that confused the alien computers completely. "Blue Squadron, deploy nuclear torpedoes," Yon ordered as his fighters reached point-blank range. The Vorthok crew watched in horror as primitive-looking missiles streaked toward their ship. These were not the sleek, sophisticated weapons they expected from galactic warfare. They looked crude, almost primitive, with chemical rocket engines and simple guidance systems. But when the nuclear warheads detonated against the alien hull, primitive became irrelevant. The electromagnetic pulse from the nuclear explosions fried the Vorthok ship's electronics. Systems that had been built to resist energy weapons suddenly went dark as simple electrical interference overwhelmed their circuits. Emergency lights flickered and died. Gravity generators failed. Even the life support systems began shutting down. "Impossible," whispered the Vorthok captain from his darkened bridge. "Nuclear weapons are primitive. They should not be able to penetrate our defenses." His tactical officer, working by emergency lighting, tried to explain. "Sir, their nuclear devices do not attack our shields directly. The electromagnetic pulse bypasses our energy barriers and attacks our electronics from the inside." Meanwhile, Major Song and her Marines had reached the ship's engineering section. They found Vorthok technicians trying desperately to restart their failed systems. But human bullets made short work of any resistance. "Engineering secure," Song reported. "This ship is ours." Across the battle zone, human tactics that seemed insane by galactic standards were proving devastatingly effective. Ships that played dead until enemy vessels came close, then suddenly activated all weapons at point-blank range. Fighters that hid inside asteroid fields and emerged like ancient pirates. Nuclear mines disguised as space debris. The Vorthok had conquered 12 star systems using advanced weapons and sophisticated tactics, but they had never fought an enemy that refused to follow the rules of civilized warfare. Commander Vorthok, watching his fleet get torn apart by primitive weapons, finally understood what the humans were doing. "They fight like animals," he snarled into his communicator. "No, sir," replied his tactical officer, studying the human attack patterns. "They fight like survivors. Every move is designed to kill us, while keeping themselves alive. It is ... efficient." The word efficient would haunt Vorthok nightmares for generations to come. Counselor Veltheron's crystal body flickered with colors that had never appeared before in the council chamber. For 3,000 years, he had served on the Galactic Council, watching civilizations rise and fall, but he had never seen anything like the recordings playing on the chamber's main screen. "Play it again," he commanded, his voice creating musical tones that echoed off the walls. The holographic display showed the Battle of Proxima Station for the 4th time. Vorthok ships, the terror of the galaxy for centuries, were being destroyed by weapons that looked like they belonged in a museum. Simple metal projectiles fired from crude launchers were punching through energy shields that could stop the power of stars. The Luminor representative flickered with patterns of confusion and disbelief. "This cannot be real data. Our sensors must be malfunctioning." "I have verified the information 17 times, replied Tekron the Kethmer delegate. Cables from his metal skull were connected directly to the Council's computer systems. Human forces destroyed 43 Vorthok vessels in 6 hours. Vorthok casualties, approximately 22,000. Human casualties, 91. The silence that followed was broken only by the harmonic resonance of Zeltharian shock. "Show me the boarding action," requested Quinter, whose species had joined the Council only 50 years ago, after developing advanced mental weapons that could control enemy thoughts. The display changed to show the inside of a Vorthok command ship. Human soldiers in simple armor were moving through the corridors with deadly purpose. Their weapons made rapid popping sounds as they fired, completely different from the elegant hum of energy weapons used by civilized species. "They move like hunters," observed Quinter, his tentacled head turning different shades of green. "No wasted motion, no unnecessary risks. Every action is designed to kill enemies and stay alive." Counselor Veltheron watched as human marines used explosives to blast through bulkheads, their chemical weapons filling alien corridors with smoke and fire. It was brutal, primitive, and absolutely effective against enemies who had never seen such tactics. "Their weapons require no power source beyond the ammunition," Tekron reported, his mechanical voice carrying what might have been admiration. "No charging time, no energy cells, no sophisticated targeting systems. Point and shoot, as simple as throwing a rock, but infinitely more deadly," added Lamanara, studying the tactical data. "Look at their rate of fire. A single human soldier can discharge more projectiles in 1 minute than a Vorthok warrior can fire energy bolts in 10 minutes. The most shocking footage came from the space battles themselves. The Council watched in amazement as human ships employed what they called ghost protocols. The vessels would shut down all power, drifting through space like dead hulks until Vorthok ships approached to investigate. Then they would suddenly activate all systems and unleash devastating attacks at point-blank range. "Suicide tactics," whispered Quinter. "No," Veltheron corrected, his crystal form shifting to deep blue. "Survival tactics? They sacrifice some ships to destroy many enemy vessels. The mathematics are brutal but effective." The recording showed human fighters attacking in swarms, their small size and erratic flight patterns making them almost impossible for Vorthok targeting systems to track. Where galactic warfare featured elegant duels between massive ships, humans fought like insects attacking a giant. "Their nuclear weapons," Lamanara observed, her energy form pulsing with nervous light. "We dismissed them as primitive fusion reactions, but they have learned to weaponize the electromagnetic pulse, using it to disable enemy electronics while their own systems remain functional." Tekron processed additional data streams. Analysis indicates human military doctrine prioritizes adaptability over technological advancement. They study enemy capabilities and develop countermeasures using available resources. "Show me the asteroid field engagement," Veltheron commanded. The display changed to show what appeared to be empty space near a mining colony. Vorthok ships moved confidently through the area, their sensors detecting no threats. Then, without warning, rocks began moving. What the aliens had dismissed as natural debris were actually camouflaged human weapons platforms. They turned asteroids into kinetic weapons, Quinter said with something resembling awe. Crude chemical rockets pushing massive rocks at incredible velocity. No energy signature, no sophisticated technology, just Newton's laws of motion applied with lethal creativity. The Council watched as 100-meter asteroids slammed into Vorthok ships at speeds that made them more destructive than antimatter bombs. The alien vessels, designed to withstand energy weapons, simply disintegrated under the kinetic impact. "We have made a grave error," Veltherin admitted, his crystal body turning the deep red color that indicated serious concern. "We assumed that technological advancement meant superior combat capability. These humans have proven that assumption wrong." "Should we contact them?" asked Lamanara. "Not yet," replied Tekron. "According to our intelligence, the Vorthok Empire is mobilizing their entire fleet for a final assault on Earth. 7 battle groups, including their flagship Worldbreaker. If the humans can survive that attack—" He left the sentence unfinished, but the implication was clear. Veltherin studied the tactical projections. The human home system would face an assault force 5 times larger than anything they had encountered before. By all logical analysis, Earth should be destroyed within hours. But logic, the Council was learning, did not apply to humans. "If they survive," Veltherin said quietly, "we will need to reconsider everything we thought we knew about warfare." The vote to monitor the final battle was unanimous. Admiral Park Sungo stood in the underground command center beneath Seoul, watching the biggest enemy fleet in galactic history appear on his screens. 78 Vorthok warships had just jumped into the Seoul system, including the massive flagship Worldbreaker that was larger than any human city. "Sir, incoming transmission from the Vorthok fleet," reported Captain Kim Taeho. The face that appeared on the main screen belonged to War Master Korthak, the most feared military commander in the galaxy. His reptilian features were twisted with rage, and his burning eyes promised death to every human alive. "Vermin of Earth," he snarled, his voice like grinding metal. "You have embarrassed the Vorthok Empire with your coward's tricks. No more hiding behind asteroids. No more surprise attacks. Face me in honorable combat, and I will grant you the quick deaths you do not deserve." Admiral Park activated the reply channel, his voice calm, despite the impossible odds. "War Master, we accept your challenge, but you should know that humans do not fight with honor. We fight to win." The alien's laughter was like the sound of breaking glass. "With what? Your pathetic fleet of 8 ships against my 78. Your primitive weapons against the might of the Empire. We will see," Park replied simply, then cut the transmission. Around him, his command staff looked terrified. They were facing the largest military force ever assembled, with weapons that could crack planets and shields that had never been breached by any civilized species. "All stations, prepare Protocol Omega," Admiral Park ordered. The command sent shivers through every human military installation in the solar system. Protocol Omega meant using every nuclear weapon humanity possessed in a single coordinated strike. If it worked, they might survive. If it failed, Earth would become a dead world within hours. Captain Yoon, Jason commanding the destroyer Soul's Pride, received the authorization code with grim determination. "All ships, arm nuclear arsenals. Prepare for simultaneous launch. On my signal." The human fleet approached the Vorthok formation in what appeared to be a suicidal charge. 8 small ships against 78 massive warships, broadcasting their positions on all frequencies and making no attempt at stealth or surprise. War Master Korthak watched from his command throne aboard the Worldbreaker, his cruel mouth forming something like a smile. "Finally, they show proper courage. Destroy them all, but leave their flagship intact. I want to speak with their admiral before I kill him personally." The Vorthok fleet, prepared to fire, their plasma cannons charging with deadly energy. In 30 seconds, the human ships would be reduced to glowing vapor, and the conquest of Earth would begin. Then, at exactly 0347 hours standard time, every human vessel fired every nuclear weapon in their arsenal. The explosion was visible from Earth's moon as a brief new star that outshone the sun. 300 nuclear warheads detonated simultaneously in the space between the two fleets, creating an electromagnetic pulse so powerful that it registered on sensors in neighboring star systems. The effect on the Vorthok fleet was immediate and devastating. 78 warships, their sophisticated electronics fried by the coordinated nuclear burst, went dark in the span of seconds. Emergency lights flickered and died. Weapon systems shut down. Even life support began failing as the alien ships drifted helplessly through space. Impossible. War Master Korthak screamed from his darkened bridge. Our systems are shielded against electromagnetic interference. His tactical officer, working by flickering emergency lighting, tried to explain through his panic. Sir, no one has ever used nuclear weapons in such numbers before. The combined pulse overwhelmed our defenses completely. In the chaos that followed, the EMP blast, human kinetic weapons finished what the electromagnetic pulse had started. Tungsten rods fired from railguns tore through alien hulls that could no longer maintain their energy shields. Ships that had conquered worlds across the galaxy were torn apart by weapons that would have been familiar to humans from centuries past. Major Song Haijin, leading the final boarding action on the crippled Worldbreaker, found War Master Korthak sitting alone on his command throne. The mighty alien warrior who had terrorized the galaxy looked small and defeated in the darkness of his failed ship. Your weapons, he whispered as human marines secured the bridge. They are not honorable. They are not civilized. No, Song replied, looking down at the defeated enemy. But they work. The battle lasted only 43 minutes from first shot to final surrender. When the weapons fell silent, the Vorthok Empire's military power had been broken forever by an enemy they had dismissed as primitive. 3 days later, Commander Lee Hanna stood once again before the Galactic Council. But this time, the assembled alien representatives rose from their seats as she entered the chamber, showing the highest form of respect in galactic diplomacy. Counselor Veltheron's crystal body had shifted to brilliant gold, indicating deep admiration. Commander Lee, the Galactic Council formally welcomes humanity as a full member with all rights and privileges. Your species has accomplished what we believed impossible. Thank you, Counselor, Hannah replied with quiet dignity. We are honored to join you. We must ask, interrupted Lamanara, her energy form pulsing with curiosity. How did your people develop such effective military strategies against technologically superior enemies? Hannah considered the question carefully before answering. We learned long ago that in war, survival matters more than honor. Your advanced weapons made you predictable. We simply chose to remain unpredictable. As humanity took its place among the galactic powers, Admiral Park received one final message from the scattered remnants of the Vorthok fleet. Your methods are dishonorable. His response became legend throughout the galaxy. Honor is a luxury. Victory is a necessity. The age of human warfare had begun.